Good evening, YouTube. I've been very neglectful in doing videos for months. Took a break from radio work. Still on the bench. The K2. This is an unboxing video, future project. I have quite a few future projects I'm putting away for when I retire. I have a lot of radios I've never shown on video before too, but this one I want to reveal. It's quite large, as you can sort of tell. It's on my chair. I'm going to have to get it out and put it on the bench. I don't know what the packing material is going to be like. I am doing this video on my phone, which I've never done before, so I don't know how it'll come out. I usually use a camera connected to my computer. So right off the bat, I'm not using a tripod. This thing's too big. I couldn't set it up well. And I anticipate this will be cut into parts because as I open this and I have to move it eventually to the table, I'm going to run out of room. To do that, I'm going to have to hold it with two hands, pull it out. I'm not going to put this down and all that while filming. I'm going to splice some video together. So, and pardon my moving around. This was an eBay purchase. It's something I've been looking for a long time. In decent condition, original condition, mostly original. It came from a very cool seller. It came from the California Historical Antique Radio Society. I'm a little surprised. I know it's packed good. It's got some kind of corrugated egg stuff down there with peanuts. The face of it is on the side. Yeah, it's packed pretty well. They have great reviews. Of course, it's a radio museum. They would know how to pack a radio to ship it. I kind of thought it would be double boxed. I'm surprised it's not. I always double box radios if I ship them. I have occasionally sold on eBay too, and I've always double boxed. Okay, it's got handles. There's a preview. You're going to see it on the bench next. Okay, we're back again. This is 60 frames per second. My camera was set to 30 before, so you might notice a better quality, I hope. It's a Google Pixel XL, which has a good camera. Never used it for videos on YouTube, I don't think. I think I once made a video on my iPhone that I used to have. Traded that in for this. So, I'm going to link below in the video to a video series by Mike. He is on YouTube, and I cannot think of his name. It's like Microwave or something. I think it's Microwave. It'll be at the bottom of the video. He did a series of restoring one of these radios. And he, by the way, is one of those guys on YouTube that I recommend to everybody because he's an electrical engineer. He really knows what he's doing. He also grew up as a ham radio operator from the time he was a teenager. And a lot of his videos are ham radio focused. He's just did a series on a Novus ham radio station, which was excellent. His videos are really good quality. He does a great job with them. And he's extremely knowledgeable. He talks about tube substitutions and circuit changes and modifications and whether they work well or don't, and just wonderful. Good stuff. I, on the other hand, am just a hobbyist and do not have his knowledge. I've learned a ton from him and others. So you can see what it is now. It's an R1155, which is the radio that was used in Britain in the Lancaster and Halifax bombers during World War II. And I think it's one of the coolest radios. Mixed reviews by a lot of people on its quality compared to the American radio, and that's in Mike's videos. He does a comparison of this one and the one that was in the American bombers during World War II. Can't think of the name of that radio. This one is almost all original, and we're going to look at it together. These have a direction finder built into them. It was a fairly elaborate system. It connected the radio through cables to a direction finder meter, which is not, it's a separate meter. And it also had a loop antenna, and they could tune the station on the radio to a ground signal and aim the antenna at the airplane right at it. So half these controls are for the direction finder. Meter balance, this isn't a meter that's on this radio, it's a separate meter that was for the direction finder. Meter amplitude, the filter I think is part of it. I think all these three are, if I'm not mistaken. The meter deflection and aural sense. They all have to do with the direction finding circuitry in these systems. Over the years, many ham radio operators bought these surplus in England and in the United States, and they heavily modified, and they took out all the direction finding circuitry, and they put different controls here. The one in the video series by Mike has different controls. He has like an RF gain over here, and I don't remember what all the other ones are in the video series, but you'll see if you watch it. I have no intention of modifying this. Apparently the ones that are unmodified are more rare and hard to find because so many were modified, and I'm going to keep it absolutely original as possible. I feel this is a piece of history, which is why I've always wanted one. I think they're really cool. My grandfather was born and raised in Ireland. His mother was from Ireland. He did not fight in World War II. He was over here in the States at that time and already married and had kids, and I believe was too old to be drafted, or at least for whatever reason wasn't drafted. The only thing that's not original is this section here. This plate is where you would connect all the cables for the power supply and the external meter for the direction finder and the antenna. This connector actually has bits of wire in it. It looks like somebody cut it off. So I don't know what kind of... I tapped the wrong button and lost the video on my camera. But underneath this, there should be connectors, 3 of them in a row, I believe. And I'm hoping the originals are underneath this. And all they did was wire these to it and left the other ones behind it alone. Whether they did or not, I don't know. But that'll be something to see. This yeah, it's a spring connector. Pretty sure that's going to be the antenna. It's just a spring connector with a hole in it. And, I mean, that's not a bad connector for a wire antenna. I'm pretty sure that's what that's going to be. And then this will be part of the power supply here. And also, this radio has another wire coming off the back of it, which I saw in the pictures, which I believe is wired up into that power supply area, and had an external connector for the power supply. This is all a modification. The originals of these had no holes in them. They had no wires coming out the back. Everything was connected to the front. These holes, unfortunately, were drilled in it by someone. They didn't do a horrible job. They're fairly well patterned, but they're uneven. I noticed that on the pictures. They don't all line up evenly. These are too close together. These are further apart. They made a pattern, but they didn't follow it exactly. I guess they felt it needed more ventilation on the tubes, although I've never heard of this radio having ventilation problems, so I don't know. Now here's another little quirk about this radio that I will mention that I did a little research on. This is an R1155A, and if you look up this radio in its manual, this is supposed to have an aluminum case. steel. And this looks like the original labeling, I'm guessing, from it. I thought this was kind of... I've never seen... I haven't found a picture of one of these online that had this stuff written on top about the mounting brackets for it, and you should only use a certain one. Interestingly, the labels are a little skewed there. Could those have been added later? I doubt it. They're probably original. It is some kind of a stenciled on paint. It's crooked, but it's either a I think it's probably a stencil. So I assume that... Oh, actually, I have a magnet. Let's see. I assume this is steel. Yep. It is not aluminum. So is this a swap case, or is it a quirk? Don't know. Let's see how the tuning dial moves. That turns okay. This is the veneer. That works okay. This is an earlier dial. I don't know the age of this radio. We're going to try to determine that. It does slip. That's a common problem. I'm not surprised. These have to be... The veneer part slips. These have to be fixed. That happens often, from what I've read and heard on these radios. It's in decent condition. It's got the little bit of surface rust here and there. I'm probably going to try to clean the rust, but I don't want to repaint it. I don't want to mess up anything. Now, it does appear to me like somebody has redone either the labels on here, or they masked them off and painted over them. This paint over here is textured. So, what came first? The labels or the texturing? I'm going to guess somebody taped them off. Pretty obvious here too, they did that. And then painted the case. Yeah, it's obvious there too. You can see it. The edge up here is textured. Alright, what I thought I'd try to do on camera is pop this plate and see if the original connectors are in fact underneath it, or if they took them out altogether. I can't think of the name of those connectors off the top of my head either. They're common. Jones plugs, that's what they are. I knew it would come to me eventually. Jones plugs are what was underneath here. I think there was a row of 3 of them in the pictures I've seen of other radios. So I'm wondering, did they pull the Jones plugs and rewire everything when they redid this custom little power panel? That almost feels like it has a nut on the back of it. Or, that might be holding that. Did they simply put this panel over the top and connect the wires? That's painted. I think I'm going to have to go off camera to get this loose. Yeah, that's painted. I ain't going to budge it. This isn't a good screwdriver either. It's an antique one. I don't know where my good screwdriver is. Okay, I'm not going to belabor this. I'm going to get off camera, loosen the screws. I won't look underneath until I get back on camera. Alright, we're back. I don't know how this is going to go. We're going to give it a go. I got a couple screws out. So the top ones feel like there's a nut on the back of them. I undid the case. We're going to pull it. The case just slides off, and I want to show the inside of the radio anyway on camera. I hate doing things one-handed, but I think there's a certain element in these videos of surprise that is always nice to have, even to me as well as any viewer at the same time. The trick will be not to pull it out too far and move the case out of the way. I think once I can have the case off, I'll be able to get at the back of that panel and see if there's screws in it. This may take a little bit of finessing. I'm pushing stuff behind here, which I'm not happy about moving. Okay. And I apologize for the camera work. Obviously, it's hard. Maybe I should have set up a tripod, but I thought I'd do it differently just because it was kind of an impromptu video. This came in the mail and I wanted to get a video out. I see. I'm going to have to look at the bottom of it. I'm going to flip it upside down. So I'm going to pull the case off and I'll show you, and flip it upside down, and we'll look at it underneath. And then I'll flip it back. We'll look at the top and I'll talk more about it. I'll be back. Boy, that was a little bit of a job. Okay. I have flipped it over. I'm going to look inside at the back of that panel. And unfortunately, maybe I should have just looked in here before I did anything else. There are no Jones plugs, so they were taken out. They're big, heavy black plugs, are huge, unmistakable. If you see them, and they would be right behind here. This is the back of that connector, I think. Oh no, that's the other switch. Where I am miscombobulated here. Other side. Oh yeah, there's no Jones plugs over there either. That is the back of the switch. Get a little light on this subject. Oh yeah, you can see there's like a screw hole here. There was a bunch of stuff taken out. There's a bent screw down here that probably held the original Jones plug. Well, that kind of stinks. I was hoping to restore that to its original configuration. But I will have to just either use the panel that is here, clean it up and use it. It's aluminum, it needs to be repainted, it's peeling. Yeah, you can see the nuts hanging up. There's no point in me taking that off now. I'll make that decision later, what I'll do with that. I'll find a parts radio, get the original Jones plugs. I doubt it. So let's get a look in here. Has all the cool original stamps and nomenclature. I don't see anything that resembles a date code. AM serial number 100/328 3028. I wouldn't call that a date code. Some of the caps, let's see. There's a mixture. I'm going to guess that's a replacement from the 60s. That's plastic sprig. I think that the radio predates that. Don't see anything else with that would possibly have a date code. Mike on his, he mentioned date codes he found on capacitors. I don't know if I'd recognize one. Well, there we go right there. But then he later said they weren't correct. I don't know. So you see that it's 25-50. That could be the 25th week of 1950 on that cap right there. Possibly. Entirely possible. So in here is your coils for tuning it. Obviously, there's all the adjustments. Oh, January. No, JAN is not January, actually. That means Joint Army Navy. Oh no, that's a US thing. This is British. I'm forgetting what I'm looking at. 26 Jan. Maybe it is 26th of January, but it wouldn't be a year. This is British. I have to remind myself of that. Yeah, there's even a wire cut off there. Probably part of the original direction finding connectors that went to the Jones plugs when this power supply connector was put in. Yeah, that's a guess. I really want to look at the top of it. This is the bottom. I flipped it over to look at that Jones connection, so I'm going to get off camera and flip it over. We'll take a quick look at the top. On my way flipping it over, found an interesting mark. This is original. 4 microfarad. This is a big, huge square capacitor. 47. Could that be the year? Could be. Up on the right there at the top. Not sure. 42nd week. 1247. I'm not sure that is. Could be. Could be 47. And actually there's another 47 there. 18. Possibly. I'm going to flip it all the way over. So these were made after the war, too, into the early 50s, I believe. This does have the early tuner on the front. I can't say for sure that 47's the year. I have to do research on this. I don't know how to date British radio, but I thought I'd look around inside with you. Empty tube, that's probably part of the directional finding stuff. People would often pull those tubes out. And one thing that was done frequently with them is they would actually put a transformer in here, and I believe they did it on this side, and they would put a rectifier tube in it, build a power supply right into it. Otherwise you have to have an external power supply and an external audio amp, because this only drove headphones. And that's actually, now that I think about it, the connector on the front might be part of the headphone circuitry, and that one coming off the back, I'm going to guess would be the power supply. I know there's a plate voltage and a filament voltage on it. Mike built one for his, the videos I'll share below, and he shared the schematic for the one he designed and built. He's an electrical engineer. I might copy his design. I'm not sure I could effectively make one on my own, at least not designing it. So just getting a look around, everything looks original. It looked original online. I believe all the original tubes are in it except the one. This yellow stuff, I saw this online and I was like, is that original? And I seen it on other ones online, and yeah, I think it is. This is a big part of the yeah, that comes off the tuning capacitor to the RF, so that's part of the tuning circuit. So that shielding is probably original. I think most of it is. I'm happy to report it's in really good condition, or it's in a good bit of nick, as they would say in England. It's in a good state of nick, something like that. So I'm not going to hang any more on this video. I'm just going to say 73 for now. This is a future project. It's a big project because I want to do it right. I want it to be original, and I have to build a power supply and a speaker and an audio amplifier to make this thing actually function. I'm going to probably just put it on display for now, maybe do a little cleaning on it, and use it as a future project. Thanks for watching, and 73, have a great night.